All right, and now I'm very happy to welcome to the stage FCC Commissioner Olivia Trusty.
It's okay, no problem. It's great. It's great.
All right. Wait, is this? Okay, this one works still. Excellent. Commissioner Trusty, thank
Yeah.
you so much for being here.
Sure.
You have been a leader in our space for so long, many years as a key staffer on the Hill, and
Yeah.
now already making your mark on the FCC. Our members and guests are, I think, especially eager to hear your views on how government policy can be focused on promoting innovation and investment,
Yeah.
and how your work intersects with their businesses. So hopefully I'm hoping we can discuss that for a little bit now. And again, thank you. I will jump right into it. So I asked Commissioner Gomez about how the commission has changed and how her life has changed in the last year.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a similar question. How has it been moving from a key staffer on Capitol Hill to a principal on L Street? Both moving roles and moving to a different institution.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for the invitation to be here. It's a pleasure to join all of you this afternoon. I've been at the commission for a little over 3 months now, and I can't thank the chairman enough for the warm welcome, as well as Commissioner Gomez and all of the FCC staff in the building. It's been really terrific. I'll share one of the most surprising things about my job so far is just seeing the amount of work and technical expertise that goes into making our communication systems so seamless. We have a lot of really impressive staff at the commission, and I've had the opportunity to meet with folks across the industry, and some of the people are working around the clock to make sure we have reliable and secure communication services. So my hat's off to them. Now, in terms of going from a congressional staffer to a principal, you know, with any new job, there's always an adjustment period. But it is a tremendous honor to get to work at the FCC in this capacity. And you know, right now I think it's a critical time for communications law and policy. And so it's exciting to be able to contribute to the FCC's mission, as well as the chairman's Build America agenda. So it's been really phenomenal in the 3 months that I've been there.
Very good, and we're going to come back to a few of those themes
Sure.
as we talk. Let's start with broadband, which is
Yeah.
at the heart of so many of our national conversations, certainly at the heart of what many of our NCTA's members are thinking about and caring about all the time. Americans rely on broadband for their work, for medical care, for schooling and education, for dating, for watching all kinds of television content produced by other members of ours and third parties. So what can the commission do to best ensure that the really vibrant environment we have for innovation and investment can continue and isn't disrupted by policies that deter that kind of innovation and investment?
Sure. So, you know, as a general matter, I think the commission is best served by having a light touch regulatory framework. And I'm certainly not the first person to say that. But, you know, I think a light touch regulatory framework really gives providers the flexibility to innovate and to respond to marketplace demands. It also helps to reduce costs and remove barriers to entry, which ultimately helps to invite more private investment. And this is what the Build America agenda is all about. So we are focused on streamlining permitting and licensing. We're also focused on reducing regulatory burdens on businesses and simplifying rules, all so that we can better promote providers' broadband deployment efforts. So along those lines, you'll see us working on the environmental and historic review processes that are tied to the National Environmental Protection Act and the National Historic Preservation Act to make sure that those processes are more predictable and efficient. We are also promoting more pole attachment access by making those processes more cost-effective and transparent. And then we are actively evaluating how the FCC's preemption authorities might be able to address state and local regulatory barriers to broadband deployment. So everything that you'll see us doing under this administration is geared toward encouraging investment, fostering innovation, and promoting competition so that we can expand opportunities for connectivity across the country and make sure the United States is leading when it comes to next generation communications technologies.
That's terrific. That's
Yeah.
music to our ears. I want to dig down on a couple of those
Yeah.
points. So this past January, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit found, for the first time under the current post-Chevron framework, found that the Communications Act must be read in a way that puts broadband internet access into the information services category, and that what that means, as the lawyers know, is that it cannot be subject to Title II common carrier regulation under federal law. So that decision was in January. It has not been appealed, so it is now a final decision. In the wake of that decision, though, we've seen various states take action that could be read as trying to fill a gap that they see, purporting to either regulate the rates for broadband service or the terms and conditions on which it is offered. That regulation, no less than federal regulation of the same type, has a disincentive effect and undermines investment and innovation. And you mentioned preemption briefly. I'm just curious, do you have a view on whether the FCC or other parts of the federal government can or should take action to preempt the states, to prevent them from stepping into this area?
Sure. So, as a policy matter, I think it makes sense for us to have a uniform national regulatory approach when it comes to broadband, as reflected in the light touch regulatory framework that we see for information services under the Communications Act. Now, we have to be mindful that some of the case law that has followed the 2018 Restoring Internet Freedom Order may make it potentially more challenging for the FCC to preempt state laws, although this is a legally unsettled area, so I remain open to other options that might be identified for the Commission to pursue. And as always, I'm happy to collaborate with other federal agencies or Congress as we look to ensure that broadband has a light touch regulatory framework as established under the Communications Act. I see this as foundational to our ability to, again, continue with investment and close the digital divide so that the United States is the global leader on all of these technologies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to drill down. You mentioned the build agenda,
Yeah.
and you put your finger right on issues that are of critical importance to our members as well, which are the permitting issues, the environmental review issues, and access to poles, which often are owned by other parties. We are members. I'm just a lawyer, but we are members have experienced difficulties in deployment and in serving the American people, coming from those various angles: the government permitting requirements that delay deployment, and the pole access, which can add a lot of time delay and can also ultimately make deployment prohibitively expensive. We are really appreciative of the FCC's actions on all these fronts, including just in this past year. And I know that the Commission, even tomorrow, is thinking about some more things it might do.
Yeah.
And is there anything more you can say about sort of a future plan or how you see the future unfolding with regard to those really key on-the-ground infrastructure deployment barriers?
Sure. So we mentioned pole attachments. We have the environmental, historic review processes that we're taking a look at. We also have rulemaking proceedings underway to advance the transition from legacy networks to advanced IP networks. And beyond that, we're looking to expand opportunities for connectivity from space. So we recently adopted a report and order to streamline the Earth and space station licensing approval processes, which I think will also go hand in hand with expanding connectivity to really rural, remote, and hard to reach areas. We also have the delete proceeding, where the public and providers can identify rules that serve as a deterrent to the build out of advanced networks or otherwise inhibit innovation. So, we've already begun work on that front. In terms of adopting rule changes identified by commenters and Commission staff, and I expect us to continue to build on that momentum. The delete proceeding is the centerpiece of the Build America agenda, as you've heard the chairman say.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's turn to spectrum, which, when I joined NCTA about a year and a half ago, and I think a lot of people who are not in our field, when I tell them that spectrum occupies a lot of my time, they kind of cock their head. But, as I mentioned to Commissioner Gomez, and as you know, our companies are relying a great deal on unlicensed spectrum to get their content to consumers' homes and to the many, many devices they have within their homes. We also rely a great deal on CBRS and other kinds of shared spectrum to serve tribal lands and university campuses and factory floors and more. At the recent NTIA Spectrum Symposium, we were very happy to hear you talk about the importance of an all-of-the-above approach to spectrum policy. You know, the OB3A put some serious demands on the Commission with respect to finding and ultimately auctioning spectrum for high-power commercial use. But again, the all-of-the-above piece is very important to us, and we're curious what your vision for that is going forward.
Sure. So, you know, in all of the above approach to spectrum, it's all about accommodating a variety of users, use cases, and technologies. And so I anticipate that the Commission will work to ensure that a wide range of technologies continues to have access to spectrum, and in some cases, new access to spectrum. Now, our immediate priority is, of course, implementing the spectrum provisions in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So along those lines, we've been directed to auction off at least 100 megahertz of upper C-band spectrum within the first 2 years of the date of enactment of the Act. And so our office is meeting with stakeholders to further inform that rulemaking process. A couple weeks ago, I did mention the importance of unlicensed spectrum, and it's really terrific. I went through a tour and saw all the ways, whether through education, public safety, healthcare, that unlicensed spectrum is being used to fuel new and innovative technologies and connect all Americans. I think the future for Wi-Fi 7, the Internet of Things, and other applications are really exciting. Beyond that, we also have a satellite spectrum abundance proceeding where we're looking to make upwards of 20,000 megahertz available for satellite uses, which speaks to the connectivity and our ability to lead in the space race 2.0 in that critical domain. All to say that, you know, I think when it comes to spectrum, the North Star here is putting spectrum to its highest and best use to advance the public interest, whether that means maximizing auction proceeds or supporting the economic activity, the technological innovation that we see on display here, and the job creation as well. Those are the types of considerations that are going to inform my approach to spectrum policy at the Commission.
That's great. I think we have some new data. We'll make sure your office.
Okay, great.
We'll make sure your office gets it.
Okay.
Let's turn to video service. As I mentioned to Commissioner Gomez, and as you know, there's a raft of obligations that apply to cable service, but not to other video offerings. Those generally stem from statutes passed back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
As I said to Commissioner Gomez, that was a time when most consumers had ABC, NBC, CBS, probably one cable provider if they subscribed, and then the local Blockbuster, and that was their video library, essentially. And nowadays, of course, that's nothing like it's nothing like that. Fewer than a third of customers subscribe to cable at all. Customers use satellite. They get a lot of video online, whether through paid services or through YouTube and TikTok and similar platforms. And yet we still have on the books a good amount of regulation that applies to the cable service and only that. Do you support efforts to eliminate that excess regulation and achieve some better parity, putting us on the same footing as some of these other offerings?
So let me start with this. In the delete proceeding, the Commission is taking a comprehensive look at rules to eliminate those rules that are outdated, that are unnecessary or unduly burdensome. And sometimes this leads to direct final rules, which you've seen in recent Commission meetings, and other times the Commission will take up needed reforms as a part of a broader proceeding. So for example, in June, the Commission issued a report and order to streamline cable rate regulations to eliminate rules that were obsolete, unnecessary, or unworkable simply because of regulatory updates and technology advancements and changes in the marketplace. So I expect that kind of work to continue as the Commission is committed to reevaluating existing rules in light of marketplace realities. And so I think we'll see both of those types of items, whether it's through the delete proceeding or part of broader reforms. I think it is worth mentioning that a lot of legacy cable regulations are a function of the 92 Cable Act or other statutory requirements. But recently, as you know, House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Brett Guthrie mentioned potentially that Congress might revisit the statutory framework. And so I stand ready to work with Congress if it elects to take up those issues. I think it's really important for continued investment and innovation in this space.
Yeah, and I know we stand ready as well to be constructive partners in that effort, which is, I think, important, and I'm glad you referenced it. I want to turn to cybersecurity.
Okay.
Cybersecurity and supply chain issues have taken up an increasing portion of the Commission's time and its docket. And that's the same in the private sector, where it's more and more of our time as well. Historically, those issues have been addressed through public-private partnerships and industry-led working groups and other cooperative fora. Sometimes there have been departures from that approach. Do you agree that this kind of industry-led, public-private approach is a better approach for cybersecurity than top-down regulation? And if so, how can we sort of best achieve that? Or are there ways to improve the processes we have?
Okay. Well, I really appreciate this question coming from the Armed Services Committee, where I focused a lot on cyber issues. So I think there is a lot to be gained from cooperative approaches when it comes to our national security. One important area for U.S. participation, I would say, is in international organizations. I think this kind of forum is foundational to our ability to promote American values, economic competitiveness, and national security. And so it's critical that the industry, the FCC, NTIA, and state, that we're all working together to develop a unified U.S. strategy before going into global meetings and conferences so that we can position the United States to advance our interests and capture first mover advantages on next gen technologies. I also think we can be encouraging the private sector to comply with certain global security norms as another useful example of public-private cooperation. Beyond that, I think there is an appropriate role for government oversight within its areas of responsibility. So as many of you know, the chairman created a National Security Council within the FCC, and I think that is a terrific platform for us to be leveraging our authorities in the Secure and Trusted Communications Networks Act, so to ban equipment from vendors that pose a national security risk to our communications infrastructure. It's also a way for us to enhance our supply chain integrity, which is also critical. Think about the bad labs proceedings so that those with ties to our foreign adversaries can no longer participate in our equipment authorization process. And I see it as a platform to engage more with our federal partners who have more primary jurisdiction in the areas of national security and intelligence. I think by doing all of those things, the international piece, the in-house FCC piece, and working closely with industry, that's what we can do to help advance our cyber defenses when it comes to our infrastructure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So a related issue here, of course, is artificial intelligence. The president's AI action plan called, among many other things, called on the FCC to take a look at whether the Communications Act or other legislation that the FCC implements has any language that would preempt state requirements with respect to AI. I'm curious whether you can share anything about how that inquiry is going, what your perspective on it is, and so on.
Sure. Well, first, I appreciate the president and his AI team for putting this together. And this is also a timely question, as at tomorrow's commission meeting, we're going to be voting on 2 items that look at whether and how the FCC's preemption authority under Section 253 and 332 of the Communications Act, what that looks like with respect to AI state laws. So, I'm also open to looking at other ways to see whether state AI regulations are interfering with our ability to carry out our obligations and authorities under the Communications Act. One important area where I think the FCC can be helpful in promoting U.S. leadership in artificial intelligence is by making sure we have the infrastructure stack underpinning the technology. And again, I just applaud you for some of the demonstrations that I saw today. But I think it's all about us promoting more resilient and secure communications infrastructure that's capable of handling vast network demands. I think this reinforces U.S. leadership in this technology, and it helps to foster the continued deployment of wired and wireless networks, which again is all consistent with the Build America agenda. So I think all that you're doing, all that others in the industry are doing is critical to us and our ability to lead in AI technology, which is going to prove where people ultimately end up in the coming years.
Great. So I gave Commissioner Gomez an opportunity to speak about anything that I had not asked about that she might want to underscore. I want to give you that same opportunity. Is there anything we haven't gotten to that you want us to know about?
Well, I care deeply about universal connectivity and making sure people in really rural, remote, and hard-to-reach areas get service. So I appreciate all the things that your member companies are doing to do that. We are eager to work with the Congressional Bipartisan Working Group on Universal Service, for example, to ensure that that program is modernized and it has the right reforms to continue meeting connectivity issues across the country. Coming from the Hill, working for Senator Roger Wicker and Congressman Bob Latta in the House, I know how deeply important these issues are to their constituents. I've had the opportunity to visit Mississippi and Alaska and just seen how transformative broadband can be to these communities, whether education, public safety, health, defense, I mean, all of those things. And so that's top of mind for me every day that I go into work and work with my tremendous staff out here who've helped me, and that's what we're looking to do. So I appreciate this opportunity to share my vision at the FCC, and I look forward to working with everybody here in the next weeks and months and years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russ.
Please join me in thanking Commissioner Olivia Trusty.
Good, thank you.